Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Zach.
No, I'm Jonathan.
and welcome to the
The,
new and not improved version, but more technically complicated, of the Movie Vault. Or at least Zach's in the Movie Vault, right, Zach?
yes, where are you, Ben? And
We're
Jonathan.
over here in the Groovy Vault, which is our basement, in the Stanhope Basement Studios that has newly been created. And
Oh, yeah?
we, because of the holidays seasons, cannot be in with Zach tonight and a few other reasons, and so we had to do it this way because
So
uh,
ominous, Ben. You're
yeah,
leaving them on the cliffhanger.
yeah,
Tune in next week to find it out.
I'm being very ambiguous, but I hope the
Yes.
listeners will forgive me.
Is this because... So, Ben, you're not going to tell them that we split the podcast?
And now there's two different podcasts:
The Zach podcast
the
and
movie
Ben.
podcast and the Vault podcast. Also, this
Which
is,
one do you choose?
I don't know. Okay, but this is also the longest that we've gone without saying what movie we're doing. So, today we are reviewing the movie Soul, directed by Pete Docter, released on March 25th, 2020, which was 2
March?
days ago. March 25th. I mean, December 25th. So Christmas
Christmas.
Day. And that was 2 days ago. And it grossed...
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas from the Movie Vault. It grossed very little money that you can count because it was released on Disney Plus to a $150 million plus budget is what it was listed as.
I was going to say $150.
Yeah, I mean I should get into movie making if that's all it costs.
I can't even afford that, honestly.
Yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes score is 97%. And Zach, what would you have to say about this movie?
This is a movie that scientifically proves that cats and dogs and all other animals go to heaven.
I guess, yeah, we've been asking this question for years, and we finally got an answer. So this is a movie that was released in 2020. So we have to do a section that's spoiler free, and then warn everyone when the spoilers are. This is actually our third movie from 2020 we've reviewed, so we'll have to give a ranking real quick of our 2020 movies that we've reviewed on the podcast.
All three.
All three of them. So impressive. All right, so botch, watch, or top notch, Jonathan. What? So our botch is like so bad that you should never recommend it.
Hold on.
Watch is-
Jonathan, you are Ben's brother. Just so the viewers know.
Oh yeah, we forgot to talk about that. Yeah. So Jonathan, we actually didn't really acknowledge. He said, "Hi, I'm Jonathan," and then we were just moved on. So yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan, more like Blonathan. I'm just joking. Jonathan, thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and Jonathan's actually he worked on the setup for this, so we're really thankful that he's here. But this is more of like it's not really a binary scale because we can't steal from Bacon and Eggs podcasts, you know.
I mean, it's a ternary or trinary. I
Yeah.
forget. Yeah.
And so it's kind of top notch would just be watch is like pretty much the average, I guess, of everything that is like, oh, this is worth watching, and then top notch is like, you must see it, otherwise, Zach and I will be very angry with you for being so stubborn.
Yes. We will show our wrath.
Okay. No, I'd probably rate it top notch because I think it's probably one of Pixar's better movies. Certain creative and original.
Yes. That I am going to agree with Jonathan on this one. Because after watching this, I don't want to give too much away, but I think it is one of Pixar's better movies, and I think it's important to watch Pixar's better movies. So I'm going to go with top notch, which is my second in a row because I gave Die Hard a top notch, even though I only rated it like 62%.
Now, me being the tough critic that I am, I think I will give it a watch, not top notch, just because I think in my scales at least, I have very few top notches.
Okay.
And this wouldn't cut it. And if I were to rank a Pixar movie that's top notch, I would say like Up, which of course we already did.
That's interesting.
Or Cars, or just something like that.
I would
I
not
love
rate.
Cars.
I might give Cars a watch. I would definitely give Cars
No.
3. I would give Cars 3 a watch. Okay, I'd probably give Cars a watch, but you know.
How do you get from point A to point B? A car. Therefore, you have to show them respect.
Yes, I guess so. All right. So the plot of the movie. Jonathan, do you want to start us off?
So it opens with Joe Gardner teaching a middle school band who is performing pretty badly, but he really wants to be a jazz musician. He's offered a full-time teaching job at the school, but he's hesitant to take it because he wants to be a really good professional musician. His mom wants him to take it.
Because she is very much on the you need to play it safe mode of things. And
Mama Bear.
yeah. So this is where our conflict starts. And then Joe finally, through a twist of fate, lands his gig with Dorothea Williams, I believe, right? Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. And she is pretty tough on him, but when she hears him play, she's like, he's pretty good, I'll give him a shot. And then what happens, Zach?
Well, and then Joseph falls through a manhole when he wasn't paying attention. Of course, he avoided many other obstacles, but the manhole got him. And then he just wakes up, and he has this new blue body, and he's on this moving staircase, escalator type of thing, in the middle of space, going to a big cluster of stars. And he asks the people that are near him what's going on, and they say, you're going to the great beyond, right?
Yes.
And so, which is Pixar's version of death, because they got to sugarcoat it. And as he's going up, he's like, "No, I don't want to die. I just got my big break." So he tries to go backwards on the escalator. He ends up falling off the escalator and landing in the Great Before, which is a place where new souls get their personalities and their sparks before they can be sent to Earth and given lives, and then eventually die and go to the Great Beyond and die again. And then what happens? Jonathan, tag team.
Then he gets assigned to be mentor to a new soul to help one of the souls get their spark, which will let them go to Earth. And he's assigned to 22, who has apparently been here for thousands of years and has not gotten her spark.
Yes, and she's also had many famous mentors, none of which seem to get through to her and help her
like
find
Abraham
the spark.
Lincoln, Copernicus, and they all had funny things based on the stuff that they did in their life. Like Copernicus says, the world doesn't revolve around you, and he was the one who discovered that, like, the heliocentric theory.
Yeah,
I missed that.
there's a lot of deep cut jokes in here, I'm guessing. But anyway, I think then they devise a plan after they don't think that 22 can get her spark for him to go to Earth, and then 22 is just gonna live soulless forever. I think bodiless. Yeah, not soulless. Obviously, they're both souls at this point. And they almost get it to work through these. There's these like people who meditate apparently. Oh wait, what are they called?
No, I was joking. The Jerry's, we forgot that.
Oh, we forgot all about the Jerry's. Yeah.
Multi-universe constructs. Like, I forget what the thing was. It was like all the quantized parts of the universe combined, and they make themselves look like two-dimensional to our feeble, small human brains.
Yes, and
so we can see them.
Yeah, and then there's Terry, who is in charge of counting, and he realizes that, what's his face, Joe is gone. He doesn't know it's Joe yet, though. And
which I don't understand why they're all named Jerry except for Terry.
Yeah, I don't know what the meaning behind that is. Also, we haven't said spoiler alert, but I hope you figured it out by now. And anyway,
you're not already mad at us. Spoiler alert.
I mean, we haven't spoiled too much beyond what was shown in the trailers.
Yeah, so if you don't want it to get really spoiled, now they're about to go back to Earth through there's these people who meditate, and they are in this higher dimension, which is full of people who are like musicians, who when they get in an elevated state, and then their like soul and bodies are in the same place, and yada yada. And so he's about to get there when he and 22, Joe and 22, accidentally fall into the hole to Earth together, the portal to Earth, and then Joe turns into a cat, and 22 is now in his body. Well, he's in the cat's body because the cat apparently did not have The cat's soul got replaced, I think, actually,
Yeah.
which was a little strange.
I'm not sure how a cat got its soul back at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's why it proves. It proves. No, I think it did because it goes back alive and goes to that old lady, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it did. I just don't know how, because it seemed like the cat's soul was.
The cat was going to the
It got,
great
like-
beyond.
The cat was in heaven and gets pulled back.
Yeah. So anyway, now they're both on Earth. This causes lots of problems, and they're going through life, and but they go to these different scenarios, and Joe gets to has a literal out of body experience where he gets to see what it would be like if somebody else acted differently in his body, and everybody thought it was him, and this affects him, but not quite enough to for any real change to occur. But somehow Terry catches up with them. They go back to the great before. Terry is all mad and like, oh, you can't do this anymore. But then, a shocking twist of fate, 22 gives her tag thing, which she has apparently got a tag when she was on Earth. So this is we didn't really explain this. They have to complete these personality tags, and that the spark is the last one. We did sort of say that. The spark is the last thing of the tag. So she got her spark while she was on Earth. Man, this movie's complicated to explain. And then
But it's like really simple when you watch it, so it's
Yeah.
just weird.
so anyway, I'm assuming you've watched it if you're listening. So I guess we'll speed things up at this point. Then we won't spoil as much.
Doesn't that make all of our podcasts redundant then?
That's true. After watching this movie, is our podcast meaningless? Anyway, Joe goes back to Earth, lives his dreams, and realizes that that they're not his sole purpose of living, or that if they are, his life is very sad. And so then he figures out how to get back to 22 by playing his piano and levitating to the field, which he knows now that he is in a different dimension when he goes there. And so then he goes somehow, I don't know how this works, but he goes from the piano was where he kind of levitated to the next dimension, and then he finds 22 has turned into a depressed being, because beings that are depressed are apparently turned into monsters in this other dimension. They're not really living life. And he chases her through, and then he convinces her that she does have meaning, and she shouldn't just be a soulless, bodiless person forever, and she should go to Earth. And he gives her his tag to go to Earth, and then she does, and she goes with him. It's very sweet, and everyone's like crying, maybe not, but and then they let go, and she goes to Mongolia. It looks like she's going to Mongolia. Maybe it's China.
I didn't even try to look which one. Wow, look at you analyzing.
Yeah, it could have been
No.
anywhere, I guess.
David and I analyzed one part because when he was playing the piano and he put all those random objects on the stand, there was a donut on there that was so dense it looked like a bagel, and we argued about it for like 10 minutes whether or not it was a bagel or a donut. And I swear it was a donut because they say like it's a donut or whatever, and like she breaks it really easily. But I swear that looks like a bagel because it's so dense. And it, like Pixar, come on, make it a little bit less dense if you're gonna make it a donut. Like, come on, you know the difference. It's not a cake donut. It's a regular donut, like a Krispy Kreme, just regular glaze. Just make it a little, like, put some holes in it or something. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Zach's donut rant. Okay, so finally, the last thing that happens is, well, do you want to close it up?
Oh, let's see what happens.
Oh, well, he's on the ramp, right?
Oh yes, he's on the ramp that goes to the great beyond, and one of the Jerrys says, "You know, you've inspired us all. We'll let you live again. And there's like, wait, what about Terry? And it's like, oh, we took care of him.
And then we go to a scene of somebody tricking Terry into not counting the body.
Honestly, poor Terry. Terry was a good worker, trying to just do his or her job, or I don't know, its job. Like,
Terry, they didn't call Terry because the Jerrys were so positive, like they could never be negative, and Terry was like the opposite of that. So that's why he's Terry, I'm assuming.
Maybe like Jerry is jolly and Terry is tear downy. I don't know.
I guess I don't know, but
That's if you want to get into the Pixar theory. Now
Yeah,
that thing's complicated.
so he gets a second chance on life, and then we get the soul screen, and that's like the movie. So that was probably a little bit longer than a 5-minute review, but this is like
It's
a new
okay
movie.
because it's kind of complicated to talk about. Like, it's a lot of like theoretical constructs that you can see on a screen, but it's hard to talk about in real life, and it's kind of cool to see it play out on screen. So
Right, because you understand like the nature of the world when you're watching it, but when you're trying to explain it, it doesn't make a lot of sense because there's like all these things that are like just givens in the movie when you're watching it that you're like, oh, this is like not normal actually.
yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot of assumptions that you have to make, but you can see it play out on the screen much easier than we can describe it.
So, our quote of the movie is from 22. It says, "Don't worry, you can't crush a soul here. That's what life on Earth is for." So,
Amen.
apparently, The Great Before is better in her opinion than life on Earth is. But she's never experienced life on Earth until later in the movie.
Yeah, don't judge a book by its cover. 22. It's a catch-22.
We'll have to talk whether do you think there's any meaning behind her number, other than the fact that
No, I don't.
it's really low.
I don't know, but I know that
Yeah.
I know that when she was pretending to be people, she pretended to be Mr. Fredrickson. Like from remember when,
I didn't notice that, but
I noticed that, but I'm wondering if it was the actual actor.
I don't.
And
Who
is he
played
alive?
Carl Fredrickson?
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it's someone like semi-famous. I feel all of our listeners are going to be like, "What?"
It's like everybody who acts in Pixar now is like famous. Ed Asner. I guess we'll have to look up whether he was on the list of people in this. I don't see him on here. Well, that's probably he might if he did it might be uncredited because they don't want to spoil it. Let me think. What do we have next? Oh yes, our outsider review, which Jonathan found, and
Keep forgetting facial expressions don't come over podcasts.
yeah, that's a hard thing to get used to. It will when we finally get our video working, but
Yeah.
the video is not. Well, we can see each other on the video, but everyone else can't, unfortunately. Sorry, guys.
Thank goodness. I need a haircut.
I'm wearing a
Right
beanie,
now.
so I don't need a haircut ever anymore.
Carhartt beanie. Join the club.
Okay, so Matt Pius says, pays from mattpays.com, or Pies. I mean, he can correct us.
Wow, he's not pretentious at all. He has his own website based on his own given name.
Yeah, he says the movie offensively implies, in this year of all years, that those who don't survive near-death experiences pass away because of a lack of inspiration or determination. Wow.
Look, I know we can always be a pessimist, but come on, like, how do you get offended by this movie?
This is one of the more pessimistic takes that I've ever seen, especially because I think he's arguing that this movie is bad over something that I don't think that's what this movie is about.
Yeah, well,
It's an external issue. Like,
yeah, it's like it's not like in this movie it's commonplace for souls in near-death experiences to come back because they're more inspirational. It's just some weird occurrence that this guy happened to be inspiring to this soul, so they just let him go. It's not like a normal occurrence. It's just a rare thing in this movie.
Yeah, it's like this is something that doesn't normally happen. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. But before we go on, I think we need to point out that if you have a near-death experience, you might need some insurance. And you might need some soul insurance. I'm just kidding, they don't sell that. But if you actually get in an accident,
you do sell your soul.
and whether you survive the accident or not, because I don't know whether funeral insurance is a thing. That's probably something else. That's something else. But for the medical expenses, you will need insurance. So we recommend that you call Hedman Anglin Agency if you have any questions about this kind of insurance. Or so HAA is known for saving people money on auto, home, and business insurance, and they would love to help you out on that. And so if you would like to reach out to them, you should call 614-486-7300. That's 614-486-7300. And if you ever happen to reach out to them, then make sure you tell them that Ben and Zach sent you. And
and that you found your spark from us.
yes, that your spark, you're just shining on this earth because we sent you, and you're buying insurance. So, and everything's great now.
Your soul will
saving,
be
so you're saving money,
secure.
which I think that Joe's mom would be very, she would like that you were saving money and being good with your money, and having health insurance, and other kinds of insurance.
Mrs. Gardner had
Home
it right.
insurance.
I think Mrs.
Yeah.
Gardner and Terry would have been good friends.
They would have been. All right, so now we get into the fun part, which is the score, our scoring using the 10-point plan. Our 10-point plan to save humanity. No, I'm just kidding. This is just our 10-point scoring system.
We're still workshopping the title of it. It's been a long time. It's been like 4 months, and we still don't have a title for it.
If you have a suggestion for what we should name it, then email us at themovievaultpod@gmail.com.
And if you don't care, please tell us why you don't care.
If you would like
If you
to
don't
see
email us,
my 10-point plan to save humanity, it hasn't worked. So a lot of people have been complaining to me about that one. All right, so first off, we have to talk sentiment, which all of us have only seen the movie once, right, Zach?
yeah, I did not secretly watch this movie before and was going to surprise you on the podcast.
And then David ruined it. That didn't happen.
No. Well, okay, I will say I did watch it before, and I was going to surprise Ben on the podcast, but someone accidentally told Ben. And I was watching it with a group of people, and I was pretending to predict every next event, like acting like I was so smart. And then I got a call in like the last 10 minutes, and I'm like, all right, guys, I've already seen it. Continue watching. And they got so mad because they thought I was like so smart.
That is legendary stuff. All right, I guess I'll start us out. I'm giving this one a 9 on sentiment. And the only reason I don't give it a 10 is because I literally just watched this movie for the first time, and it just came out. So it's kind of hard to give it a 10 right now. But 9 is pretty good starting place. You can only get 1 point better from there. All right, Jonathan, what do you think?
Yeah, I also gave it a 9. That was pretty good overall.
Yeah, and I was getting the feels at the end, you know, and made me think.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. 8 is high. I loved it. It was good. Ben, you know that I love it. Jonathan, I know you loved it because Jonathan, you're a big Pixar fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's our Pixar expert. He's our Pixpert.
Although technically we haven't watched. Have you watched The Good Dinosaur? I haven't watched The Good Dinosaur, and I haven't watched Brave.
Yep, I've watched all Pixar movies except for those two. So
if those two are the best, please tell us so that we can.
I did read a book on the starting of Pixar, and I read it like twice. So there's that.
Yes. So now, if we want any historical context for Pixar's existence.
Well, I'm not sure if I remember that much, but I did read it twice.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of the Pixar theory?
Yes.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Where do you think this fits into it?
I think this fits in well because it's like when people die. So like whenever someone in the Pixar theory dies, this is just how it works, you know?
And there's ways for them to come back, so that might fix any loopholes.
I especially like the time loop portion of the Pixar theory. That's my favorite part. Some of it's kind of weird, and they definitely didn't intend this, but it's interesting to try and put it all together.
Yes. So if you haven't looked up the Pixar theory, is there a website for that? I think
there is, but I don't remember what it is.
Okay, well, just Google it. It's very interesting, and I'm sure there's lots of videos on it of other people who have thought about the Pixar theory. Yeah.
This person's name website.
Okay. Wait, do you want to just say it?
It's johnnegroni.com.
All right. So if you're curious, go to that website. Also, message, which is fairly similar to sentiment. Zach, what'd you give message?
I gave message a 7. I mean,
Okay.
I was a little confused at some parts, but overall, I think it was a good message about what are you true. again, like there's different perspectives from different worldviews, but this is a good message where it's saying that there's not only one specific part to life. Like, and your whole life can't be devoted just to playing piano or just to walking or looking at stars or stargazing or whatever. There's more to life, and your spark isn't just going to be one specific thing. There are many different parts of life, and you have to enjoy all of it. Well, you don't have to. But.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I gave it a 8. I'm still like trying to think through what exactly I think of the message and what parts I agree with or disagree with, but at least made me think.
I gave it a 9 because I very much resonated with Joe's part of the story. The only reason it's not perfect because 22's storyline is, well, this is more character arcs. Well, I'll get into that later. Joe, I can see how you can get so laser focused on a dream that you forget that every moment in life matters. And I think that was the most important takeaway for me, because regardless of your worldview, which I can sense that Pixar was being a little bit ambiguous in how they were presenting this, not giving it one specific worldview. Like, every moment in life matters, and it's really easy to forget that. And that was what I thought. Was like he was so driven by his goal, he was forgetting about other people, he was forgetting about investing in other people's lives, and he had the opportunity with his students to invest in other people's lives. But
yeah, and when Connie came to his house and she wanted to quit, he said, "Oh, I don't have time for this." He wasn't really invested in what she had to do. And like, even his barber Des, like he never asked him about his life or anything like that. But when 22 got involved and like actually was experiencing life, she was the one showing Joe that his life is more meaningful than just piano. Whereas like 22 was talking to Connie and she was talking to Des, finding out things about them and how they tick and what their passions are and how they ended up where they are, which made Joe really think, like, is my life just about piano?
Yeah. And it was so obvious that Joe had been so blinded by his dream that at just every moment he was thinking about piano and making his big break. It was actually pretty selfish. Like, his mom might have been a little harsh on him, but it also might have been because of his attitude and how he was choosing to pursue his dream. It wasn't necessarily that his dream was bad or that wanting to be a musician is bad. It's that he had he had idolized it, I guess would be a good way to say it. And when you do that, even if you achieve success, which he eventually did, he was like, and then you're like, oh, this is empty, and you either have to, and then that could be hard to grapple with. So that's pretty much message. And now plot, which we talked about. I gave plot a 9 too.
I gave it a 7. I liked it, but like, it was good because it was emotional, it was thoughtful, it was thought-provoking, as Jonathan said. But I just gave it a 7 because there were a lot of parts where it was like kind of slow and kind of, for me at least, dragged on a little bit, but they got the point across, which I think was more important. But I gave it a 7 overall, which is still good. So
I also gave it a 7.
John? Okay.
So I'm not sure entirely why. It's just like, oh, it's plot. It's probably good because I rated the other categories good, but...
Yeah, I guess I rated it high because I rated everything else high, but you're probably right. There's probably points in the plot that are a little bit, that weren't as good. Like, I think they had to do the whole Terry thing, and they had to do, like, the meditation stuff because there were plot holes that they had to fill. Like, they had to have a way to get from Earth to the secondary plane without having
my
to.
Part with that in the Brita moments.
Okay. All right, we're already getting into Brita moments, but yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about plot that we haven't already talked about. All right, character arcs. What'd you give it, Jonathan?
I gave it a 9 because I thought they were pretty good character arcs.
Yeah, I think it was really good too, but my good is a 7, I guess, because I keep giving 7s.
And I gave it an 8 because I didn't like 22's character arc as much as I liked Joe's, and I felt like she was the other main character, so it's the other character arc that matters. But it was still good, it just wasn't as good as Joe's, so I factored that in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But obviously Joe's the main character, so he's more important. So I weighted a little bit more towards that.
Why do you think 22's wasn't as strong?
Like, it's hard when you're dealing with such a hypothetical to like grasp around why it was important. Like, because in reality, I doubt that when you just don't exist. You don't, like, they even said it was a hypothetical, that the whole the great before. So that kind of threw me off in terms of like, I'm supposed to feel for this character, but this character like can't exist. And why does it have feelings if it does exist? I guess it was because it went to Earth when it wasn't supposed to, because I guess she kind of didn't have feelings. I don't know. It was just maybe it threw me off a little bit.
Yeah. The character, I think, does provide some motivation for the plot, so have a contrast of ideas.
It
turns
true.
out both the main characters' ideas about what the purpose of life is wrong, but
yeah, that's
one of them was taking it. One of it was taking it for granted. The other one's just discovering it. So it's like two different angles of the same material.
I guess you're right. When you put it that way, her arc is a little bit better. Maybe I just didn't like her character as much. I don't know. So maybe it's
Not a big Tina Fey fan.
might be a me problem. Oh yeah, probably not the biggest Tina Fey fan either, but I don't think that was why. She said her voice was annoying, so I can at least
A middle-aged white woman.
Yes. All right. How about? So now we're getting to cinematography, which I typically think of in animated movies as being like the animation quality, but I don't know if that's how Zach thinks about it. But
I do now. Last time I didn't, but now that you described your last podcast, I gave it an 8. I thought it was beautiful, very beautiful.
I gave it a 9. It was pretty well done.
I gave it a 10.
Oh, I do. Okay, I was thinking about like a 9 or a 10, but I mean, I might have, because I liked that, like, I don't know, when she went into that when she says run and they walk into that little box and she has that little secret layer, and it's like all those objects, but it's like they're not objects, they're all just gray and there's outlines. And then like the Jerrys are all 2-dimensional. I thought that was like so cool to like integrate all that together in the animation.
I think that's what got me. I actually didn't really like the design of the souls that much, which is weird because it seems like I shouldn't give it a 10 if I didn't. But like the way that they did the animation, especially when they were in the dimension that was like the great before and the great beyond, like that was, and the Jerrys and the Terry, like that was really good. And then like the view of New York City, that's typical Pixar stuff, but they nailed it again. I mean, I guess to really confirm that this is a 10, which obviously, I can't take it back now. I would have to go rewatch all the Pixar movies and decide whether I think this is, but they tend to get better over time, so this actually might get worse. But yeah, I just thought it was amazing.
I guess on your comment on cinematography being quality of animation, it's kind of similar to a regular movie though, because they still have like camera angles. It's just
that's true.
Not a real camera, it's a virtual camera.
That is true. If you're looking at it like a cinematography, it would probably be a little bit less. It would be more of like a 7 or 8. But
well, I even thought the shots were beautiful. Like when he was falling through the soul world, like to dying right away.
Okay,
he was falling through like those constructs and stuff like that. That was sweet.
The falling to Earth scene was also good. Yeah, and I don't know. I said the New York City shot. I don't know why that one. And
no, the shots in New York City, I couldn't. There was some shots where it looked so like it looked. I could, if I were shown that picture, I would think it's real, like a photograph.
Yeah. And I think, what was else? When he's playing the piano, and like the levitation scene, and where like the colors change. It's really interesting because Pixar movies tend to be really colorful, like Up, all the balloons, Monsters Inc., all the different monsters. This feels more like it has a specific tone. Hey, Kenzie. Kenzie's walking by. She can't hear me though, so it's really redundant that I said hi. But this is like a distinct color tone. That's like there's like two different ones that like the New York City one, which is a little bit more colorful, and then there's like very specific colors in the Great Beyond and the Great Before that are like blue and pink and like black. It's, I don't know, it looks nice.
You know another movie they did that in?
What?
Inside Out.
Oh, you're right. Which there's a lot of comparisons between this movie and Inside Out, I think. Come to think of it. Like,
yeah, I guess it's the inner workings of people.
Yeah, and it's like a metaphor. Like, the brain obviously doesn't actually work like that, but it's like, this is like the human, if humans were in the brain, sort of how it would work.
I guess the question for Pixar theory is, how does the word of Inside Out work with the word of souls?
Yeah.
Where is the soul
That's
in
true.
the mind and Inside Out? This is like the Pixar version of the mind-body problem.
Does the mind start? The mind probably starts when the soul goes to Earth. I guess how they would fix that, because I don't think that there's any. But then they're also developing their personality, which goes against what they did in Inside Out, because it was like their personality was developed through experiences that shaped them. Oh man, this is all very complicated. With
Well, maybe
Pixar.
they're preset and then they can change.
That's got to be it, because I think that's sort of what they say in psychology, is that it's like you will have certain genetic tendencies, and then you're also molded by experience. So it's like a double whammy. It's not just one or the other. But how about, okay, so now we're going to originality, which is an interesting category.
I can't believe this. I gave it a 9.
You gave it a 9? I gave it a 7, which
I thought this movie was so actually original. How do you not think it's original?
the only reason I didn't rate it higher because I thought it was very comparable to Inside Out, and so I was like, they borrowed some things from Inside Out that are like the big arc concept, so that's why I gave it a 7.
Yeah, I thought it was super original, so I gave it a 10. It's like,
Okay, so
I haven't seen a movie like this. I mean, I haven't seen that many movies, but interesting concept.
yeah, so 10. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say that this is pretty original. I just maybe I might overstock how much this was inspired by Inside Out. I was also thinking about there's the same director for both movies, but it's almost like he was building on the idea that he did in the last movie he directed.
Well, yeah, this guy did Up and what else?
Monsters
did he do?
Inc. Monsters Inc. He's done Monsters Inc.
Oh,
No, he didn't do Good Dinosaur, I don't think. Monsters Inc. Up, Inside Out, and this, and Soul. I think he's done 4 movies.
and he's the head of Pixar now.
Yeah, he's the head of Pixar now. He's the big cheese. But
Him and Kevin Feige should do a collab, a Marvel Pixar movie.
I feel like that could happen with the amount of Marvel material we are getting. But yeah, it's interesting because I think one of the reasons why Pixar is so good is because they tend to be very steady on the directors that they pick, which it's also, Pixar is more team driven, from my understanding, right? So for animation, you have to have much more of a team because of how complicated it is to like draw everything and like make it. But you know, they have these very consistent. Brad Bird has done a couple.
The Incredibles, right?
Andrew Stanton, Lee Unrich, like these guys, they've done multiple Pixar movies, and they kind of stick to these guys as being the people who do it, and I think that is kind of why the quality has stayed the same over the years. Because it's like, this started with Toy Story in 1995, which is like, how many years ago now? 25? So, then, and now they're making Soul, which could, I mean, a lot of people love Toy Story. I think it has like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's like, they went from that, and they're like still doing it now. So there's obviously a reason why.
Yeah. I think one thing they kind of have is they collaborate a lot on the story. So instead of just having like one writer who writes the thing. I don't actually know how all movies do this, but I know they have like a board of collaboration.
Right. Which I think is different than a lot of other stories in that, or a lot of other, is because like one person directs it and the other person or they might direct and write it actually and be basically the center of the vision of the story, and definitely Pixar doesn't work like that as much. But now from here we go to acting or voice acting, or I guess you could consider it how they animated the characters and how the voices fit the characters' movements.
Well, that's kind of like choreography too. But I gave it a 7 because I think Tina Fey and Jamie Foxx I mean, I don't. Has they ever been in a movie together?
It would. I mean, they both seem like they've been in a lot of movies, but I don't know that they have been in a movie together. I give it an
But
8.
I think they're both just really good. Like they really got the emotions across.
I also gave it an 8.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx is when in the right roles, which I don't know whether voice acting is. It's probably a different kind of difficult. I've only ever seen him in like Django and Baby Driver, so like much different movies than this.
Jamie
But-
Foxx is returning in the new Spider-Man movie in 2022
Oh, really?
or 2021. Yeah, it's actually a year from like this week.
Oh, is he like
that
one of the
he'll be
villains?
returning. Well, he's returning as the Electro that he played in the Andrew Garfield series.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
So they're going to do some type of crossover or something. I don't
Okay,
know.
that'll be sweet. But I think they're both. I said I wasn't a huge fan of Tina Fey, but like given the right role, she's fine. She's great. And everybody else did their job and wasn't annoying. I think Felicia Rashad from the Cosby Show was in this, so that's somebody that I have watched a lot of acting from. But I don't. She played. She played the mother. So yeah, she was good. Everybody conveyed what they needed to. Even the weird hippie guy.
Did I give my score?
Yeah, you said 8, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and now we'll have Jonathan's score for this one because he wrote them down. A lot of our guests don't. Okay. So now style, which
8.
I give it a 9.
Also gave it a 9.
So me and Jonathan are
Ooh.
pretty close, I think.
Yeah,
on our
I mean,
score.
it's just a very it's like it's not mellow, it's like calm, but like scary calm, because it is something that we probably think about more than we realize, like the whole life and death situation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also like interesting how fast it happened and then how drastic the difference between what it looked like in life and when it looked like after like when he was in the other places, Great Before, Beyond and Great Before. It was like, wow, this is like a stark contrast.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And it still might be like more human like than it actually is. Well, I wouldn't say that actually. I don't know. It might be less human like than it will be. I don't know. I just don't know.
You don't know because you're not a human. You're an imposter.
Imposter. Ah, you found me. Now you're gonna vote me off. Little Among Us joke. That will make this podcast dated.
Yeah. Or the kids will come running to listen.
We kind of talked a lot about the style though with the cinematography. I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially with the colors and everything. So I think sometimes our categories can kind of bleed together. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Score. So score. Soundtrack. This can be confusing to people because we go score and then they're like, okay, final score. No, it's the soundtrack or the
I gave score a 6. I just think it wasn't notable for me.
I give it a 9. I thought it was super notable. And
Really?
plus all the jazz music was incredible. This has got to be one of
Yeah.
the best musical movies that they have had.
I thought it was good, like the piano part, but I don't know. I guess I just didn't count that in for some reason, like the specific actions of playing the piano.
I gave it an 8. I thought it wasn't the best soundtrack I've ever heard, but I think it went well with the movie. Like the jazz was definitely really good. And then I didn't notice a lot during the movie, but like when watching the credits, I don't know how to describe. It's like calm sort of techno was
Yeah.
the Soul Realms music.
So the guys who did this soundtrack, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, they are in the band 9 Inch Nails, and they kind of, which was obviously they were a popular band in the 90s. Actually somewhat controversial. This is not an endorsement of 9 Inch Nails. But it's just stating a fact. And they actually have sort of gotten 9 Inch Nails still exists, but they sort of have the second career as like people who make scores. They've worked a lot with David Fincher. They made the soundtrack for The Social Network and Gone Girl, both of which, and I think The Social Network soundtrack won an Academy Award. So they're well known, and I think they do this techno sort of thing. So it's not incredibly shocking that is what it sounds like, because and if you listen to the Nine Inch Nails albums that came out this year, they are completely different from the ones in the 90s and like actually kind of instrumental, and they kind of sound like this. But anyway, that is just my knowledge of the people. I'm a little bit more knowledgeable on the composers than I normally am. All right, so that brings us to choreography, correct? Everyone gave their score?
Yep.
7. Oh, 7. Sorry.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 too.
I gave it an 8.
So pretty close again. Good. Yeah, I mean, I guess the falling scenes were like pretty good. Like,
Just them falling.
Yeah.
It was cool to watch them like chase each other around in New York and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's what I was mostly thinking of, the scenes where 22 is trying to control Joe's body.
I thought she
And
learned
falling
kind
on
of
the
fast, but yeah, it was good.
And I guess the piano scenes, like the ones where his fingers hit the keyboard, I assume those are the right notes.
Yeah, that's true.
well,
I didn't think
she
about
probably didn't learn fast. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't think about how technically impressive it is that like they got the keys. Because think about where they were when they first started. They could barely animate humans, like that looked anything, let alone do that fine of motor skill, like playing a piano, that looked that realistic. So I think that is probably their. If they were, you're to say, what did they improve upon in their animation? Maybe, I don't know whether they've shown this in other movies, but it seems like Pixar has tended to like stray away from doing human characters, and so in this movie they really made a lot of, even though they didn't stay with the human characters the whole time, they made some steps in their human animation development.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say that she probably learned really fast because I think she did get to like keep his thoughts and stuff, like his brain. So she probably has like the same brain patterns used to help her move. But that's just a stupid thought that I had.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, wow, we're actually at 47 minutes already. Holy cow.
Oh shoot.
This is going to be our
So
longest podcast, which
mine's a 74%. Let's cut to the chase.
cut to the chase. Okay. I am at 85%.
I did not calculate the
What?
percentage.
Yeah, so
85%?
this is higher than Donnie Darko. Yes.
Is this your highest?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
Jeez.
I feel like this movie impacted me a lot. Like I'm like, I don't know whether it'll end up in my top 25 list. It won't right away for sure because you have to give it time. But like this is gonna climb definitely my animated movies. Like I want to point out though, while Jonathan's calculating his score, this movie was like, it's one of the Pixar movies that's the least made for kids. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't that super funny.
I wouldn't think of this as a kids movie at all. Like some Pixar movies, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like adults can watch this and they get one message, and kids can watch this and they get another message. And I guess you could sort of say that from this movie, but I feel like this movie is really aimed at adults. Like you could say like the 22 is like supposed to be the kids because they're like, this is somebody who's young and it's like, I don't have any meaning, and that's like, yeah. But I felt like they really focused a lot more on the Joe character and his like midlife kind of, like he was a middle-aged man, and like how you can look back and be like, all my dreams didn't really happen, which I've heard people who are older than me, they've told me like, yeah, you get to 30 sometimes and you can be like, oh, all these things that I thought I was gonna do, like I haven't done, and I'm like getting to past my prime. So
Jeez.
I guess it's weird because the 22 character doesn't exactly a kid's perspective, because it's a weird perspective of,
because it's a kid that's voiced by Tina Fey.
it's like before they had a body, so they don't know if living is actually worth it, which is an interesting concept, which is what I liked, which got me interested from the trailers.
I feel like Gen Z is getting too existential.
But I think the part that maybe would resonate with younger people, I'm not sure about kids, maybe more of teenagers or college students, is figuring out what your purpose is.
Right. That's a very teenage to young adult to end of college problem.
But the movie was showing it actually might not matter what your age is, because Joe was also having the same problem. He thought he knew, but
He was like blind. He didn't actually know. Did you calculate it?
yeah, it was also 85%.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Exactly. So yeah, 85. But the thing is, our podcast, people are gonna hate us if like we're like, this is the best movie I've ever seen, 85%. But that's what our scale is like. And I've just settled with the fact that Zach is he's just a little bit harder to please than me. So he's just gonna have
Probably.
movies that are lower,
What?
and I'm gonna look
Hey,
like
I still
less
love
of a.
this movie. I still did.
Wait, what?
I know you did. If people looked at all the other movies that were on your list, this is pretty high. That's why we need to get
I
the
love
list
this movie. They
updated.
got a C. They got a 74. Oh man.
Yeah. Okay. So now we get to go to Britta Moments with Britta, who, Jonathan, you probably don't get this, but she's from Community, and she was the worst. You've watched like one episode of Community, and she was like the blonde girl that is like she didn't really have a point of being on the show, and after like the first episode, and then she was just on the show the whole time, and they would just like make fun of the fact that she was like a purposeless character.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember what character that is, but I have listened to your explanation on this podcast before, so.
Yeah, okay, maybe we need to stop explaining this every time.
I mean, it wouldn't be confusing if you hadn't heard any podcasts before.
That's true. We're just trying to...
I think my only Brita moment was when all of a sudden, like, he plays the piano and he finds out that he can go to the soul world just by playing the piano.
Yeah.
Like,
That was a plot. That was a Band-Aid for the script. Because they were like, they didn't want to have them to go to the hippie guy again to get to the...
I kind of get the getting into your own little world that's kind of close to the soul world, but being able to get out of it is a little weird. Also,
Yeah.
the whole mysticism part in the entire thing was weird, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's a Pixar movie, so they're going to add their own little element to it, you know? But it was just weird that, like, they kind of just made that an easy way out. Like, he just played the piano and went to the soul world all of a sudden. So you know, whatever.
I agree. Is that all there is to say about this movie that's bad? You guys
That's
convinced
the
me
only one that came to mind.
You guys convinced me that 22 is actually a good character, so I can't say that's a Brita moment anymore. All right, so stock market. I'm keeping I already bought stock and P Doctor on the up, so my stock is rising.
We're rich right now.
We're cashing in some dividends. It'd be fun if we actually like wrote a program that like kept track for like the people who are active. I don't know. It would be so subjective though. It's kind of hard to actually.
What's good and how many dollars do you get per good thing?
And if you were basing it off of money made on the movie or stuff like that, like multiple factors, then there's no like you can't calculate the money that was made on this movie. I guess you could do like Rotten Tomatoes score. I mean, that's still subjective, but
you're right.
It's one like thing that all movies most all movies have a Rotten Tomatoes score, so you can at least like I don't know. It would be interesting. Who else? The voice actors are more like, yeah, they did a good job, but like I don't know whether I would like buy into them as actors just because of this movie.
Yeah, buy me some Joe Gardner. Like Jamie Foxx was good, but buy me some Joe Gardner right now.
Yeah, but do you think Joe Gardner's gonna get another movie? Like, would Soul 2 be a thing? There's no way they're making Soul 2, right?
I don't know.
Soul 2, your sole purpose.
I just don't feel like this is a movie that's made to have a sequel.
No, it's like Up. It has a good finite ending. It's good.
Yeah, which is good. Pixar needs these movies.
Okay, I will say
good. The franchise.
I don't think.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just so you guys know, like Ben and I have a delay, so that's why we keep cutting each other off. But
yeah, we would definitely not cut each other off in real life.
That's true. But I think a plot hole for me, not a plot hole, a moment that I was like, oh no, was when he got a second chance at life. I actually think it would have been better if he didn't. I think it would have been more finite, and I think it would have been more meaningful and sad for me if he just went to the great beyond and just let it be and just was happy with the life he lived because he realized that it wasn't as meaningless as he thought, because he realized that every moment matters.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if they're going to end it that way.
Yeah, I thought they were going to. I'm guessing that they I'm guessing that they had a test audience and they tested both endings, and the audience hated the ending where he just went into the great beyond. I could be wrong about that, but it seems like that, like, because it's like Disney and they're like, oh, we can't, like, Disney just can't do the, oh, this is like a kind of a depressing, ambiguous ending, because you don't know what the great beyond is either, so they never show you that, which I think is good, because it's nobody knows, and well, I mean, we know. I don't want to say nobody
We've
knows,
never experienced.
but nobody has ever experienced it. That's what I'm meaning to say.
That's still alive.
That we know.
That's still alive.
At
Yeah.
this time.
Yes. And I guess that's what we say about that. Feedback. I don't know that we've gotten more feedback particularly, but we have gotten a Japanese audience recently. I just want to shout out the Japanese listeners, because they moved from being like, it was like 93% American like listenership, and then they bumped it down to like 90%. Like 4% of our listens are now from Japan, so that's kind of cool. And if you're that listener, thank you. And if you want to email us and explain to us how you found us or anything, or if you're using a VPN, then you're at least helping our egos, because it is possible that somebody has a VPN in Japan who is like messing up everything. But I'm not completely unaware of that happening. But that's kind of a cool little thing, I guess. And
I just yawned.
I think that's pretty much all on the feedback front. And so now I'll just plug our social medias. At the Movie Vault Pod on Instagram, at Movie Vault Pod on Twitter, and then email us at themovievaultpod@gmail.com. And we do respond to our emails. And if you have recommendations, suggestions, you're angry at us, we messed something up, and we said a fact that is not correct. Like, I think somebody pointed out, I think Brian pointed out that on Die Hard we had mentioned that we didn't understand why the stocks were important, like the papers. Apparently they were actually bonds. And so that is why, and they only, like, those were the only record of the bond. So that's why it was like, if they stole them, they could get all the money. So those are the things that, like, we don't have the capacity to get everything right. So we are thankful when people are like, point things out that we said wrong, because sometimes we don't know it, and then we just go with something, which isn't always great, but it's what we do. So now I guess final conclusions. So each of us can give our final thoughts. Who wants to volunteer to start?
I got it. I say final conclusions. Great movie. Good job, Pete. Good job, Pixar. I look forward to the next one.
Like, what sort of things do I say in my final conclusion?
Like, what are your like final thoughts of like?
I thought it was interesting how they tackled the philosophical problem of soul separating from soul, have a difference between soul and body, and apparently even brain and soul, and also tackling the question of the meaning of life in an interesting and creative way.
I'm thinking that sums it up pretty well. I will just say, yeah, I thought that for me this was like sort of a person, like, got me personally, because I could see myself. I tend to be somebody who has a lot of dreams, or like thinks about what could happen, which is maybe why I have a podcast. And so as being somebody who has lots of big dreams and sort of a visionary, I don't know. I'm not Elon Musk kind of visionary, more like a knockoff Elon Musk type of visionary. And so to see,
you're like the Lego Elon Musk.
Yeah, those things might not happen, or might never be accomplished in the way, in my mind, I think that they should happen. But that is not the meaning of life. Is not that the dreams that I'm thinking right now happen. It is actually, there's a lot more parts of life than just that, including your relationship with other people, your relationship with your spiritual, what the decisions you make on what you believe philosophically and spiritually, and those things are going to end up mattering a lot more than a singular focus on something like music, or, you know, it could be your job. It could really be anything that's like sort of this singular thing that can only happen on Earth. But it's not that and you can still use all of those things and all of those dreams in life, but there's only but there's you can't become blinded by it, I guess. And I might not have said that very it might not have all sounded good together, but I'm trying to get that point across, that that's why it was such a personal connection to the movie. Anyway,
Guys, he's crying right now. There's tears coming down his face. I'm joking.
all right, so now I guess we've come to the point where we have to close the vault. Also, I guess I don't exactly know what we're doing for the next movie, or whether we're gonna do another one of these before we do another one back in where we're in the same studio. We haven't quite figured that all out yet, but we will let you know, or it will just release and we won't let you know, and it'll just be like new episode. So, yeah. So now we have to close the vault, but Zach's in the vault.
Hold on. Jonathan, would you like to simultaneously close the movie vault and the groovy vault?
Okay. Let's see. Dun 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 boom.
Oh no, my soul and body are separated.